More PFT Live after this. Welcome back to PFT Live on NBC Sports Radio. Later tonight, the New Orleans Saints will pack up the operation and head back to my home state of West Virginia, just a couple of hours of where I'm sitting right now, to the Greenbrier for the second straight year, and head coach Sean Payton of the New Orleans Saints joins the program. Now, Sean, the trend is for teams to stay home during training camp. There's just a small handful that go on the road. Second straight year at the Greenbrier. What brought you back for another season?
Well, I think for us, two things. I think the environment with regards to the weather, the temperatures there generally are going to be in the 80s. There's a little less humidity. The facilities obviously are fantastic with the football facility, gym built, and the field space. But also, secondly, it gets your team away. We've been at home, and our early first 3 years we went on the road to Jackson. So we've kind of done both. And I think Mickey and I both feel like at some point it's always good to have a change. But the commitment he's made with the facilities there and just the location, it's really worked out well. And I think with the schedule we're on now, it's 3 weeks there, and it also provides us, almost a week and a half, 2 weeks back here in New Orleans before we get started.
And you take it next level this year with the New England Patriots coming to town for 3 days of practice. It's not an easy place to get to. How did you convince Bill Belichick and company to make the trek to West Virginia?
Well, he called, and typically when we played New England in the preseason, we've always had a joint practice. Twice now up in New England, we played them up there. Our teams have gotten together. I think there's a feeling that every time we practice with them, we get something from it, and I think Bill feels the same way. There's no issues, there's no fighting, none of that stuff. It's really good work with another team. And so when he called this year, initially I didn't know if he realized that we weren't in New Orleans, but he did, and he was interested still in having that 3-day period where we're together. Then on Friday, both teams will fly back down here to New Orleans. I think for Bill, I'm not speaking for him, but if he feels like it's worth his while, and I know ownership there, I think they look at opportunities and really value, hey, is this something that can help our team get better? And if it can, I know he's interested. So we look forward to having those guys for, the good portion of a week there before we break camp. And I think they'll be excited about seeing the facility.
He's Saints head coach Sean Payton here on PFT Live and NBC Sports Radio. Another thing that Bill Belichick has adopted this year, the new virtual reality technology from Striver Labs. And, Coach, we talked about this back at the Scouting Combine. When will virtual reality arrive in the NFL? And that was primarily as a tool for screening college quarterbacks. Can they make the leap to the NFL level? What are your thoughts on this proliferation of virtual reality training for NFL teams?
Well, I think it's gradually coming. I think we're really no different than teachers. I think it's a part of, it can be a part of training, but my point at the beginning is I think we're constantly, and we need to constantly be looking at ways to improve the technique, the time we have with an athlete, the meeting format, how we practice. So I don't think we ever just turn the page and go to next year and say, hey, we're going to do everything the same way. I think when it comes to the virtual reality, the ability for an individual player to put a headpiece on or put a headset on, and I've seen a couple of examples now, and I think a lot of teams like us are looking at, all right, hey, this is going to be changing rapidly. So, what group are we interested in working with initially? But you're trying to create or simulate what it's like to be getting a live rep, and that can be done with more than just a 3D image. It's really an image that you can kind of look to your left and right and look down at the line of scrimmage if you're a quarterback. Coming out of the huddle, you can begin to see the rotation of the safeties. There's so much that goes into it. So the first thing I would say is it real film or is it character like, Madden-like? And I've seen both. All of which I think each year will get better. And I think gradually you'll see not just the 32 NFL teams. You'll see a number of college and high school teams begin to use that just as we would in any type of teaching setting.
So will Drew Brees be crashing into the furniture in his room at the Greenbrier with a virtual reality headset on this training camp?
I don't know that that's going to happen. Sometimes the floral print and the stripes can force you to do that. But he was actually with one of the groups that came through. We had a chance to wear the headpiece, kind of take a peek at it. It's interesting. It's fascinating, and I do think it's at its very infantile stage. I think 2 years from now, we're going to see a product that is substantially different and better, and yet I think there's a place for it right now, especially for the younger players, younger quarterbacks. So I don't know that you're going to see Drew do that. It may be something Grayson or one of our other younger quarterbacks experiments with.
He's Saints head coach Sean Payton here on PFT Live. Another innovation in the NFL. News that broke last night, the Arizona Cardinals bringing in a female assistant for training camp. Your thoughts on whether this can become a trend or whether it's just going to be a blip on the radar screen?
Well, I don't think it's going to be a blip. I think it's progress. I think it's and I don't know that I would call it a trend. I think it's encouraging. I think that our league's seeing the first female official this year. We've had a chance to work with her for really the last 9 years. So our first training camp back in 2006 was in Jackson, Mississippi, and Sarah was there at that camp. She's worked probably 7 of our last 9 training camps. I think those are boundaries that are gradually being eroded or broken. And in the case of coaching, I think, we've seen it down at San Antonio with the Spurs. And I think it's just a matter of time before we see more and more of it in our league. And then to the point where it's not newsworthy, then you're really making progress.
He's Saints coach Sean Payton here on PFT Live. A couple more minutes before we let him finalize his arrangements to head to West Virginia for training camp. And, any fan would want to know, based upon the events of the past few days, when you look at the Junior Galette situation, the contract that was given to him last September, what went so wrong between September and July to result in him not being a member of the team?
Well, there's probably a series of things. I mean, I think, number one, it's unfair to say, hey, the 2014 season went awry and we finished 7-9, and to try to dump that or begin to assign that to any one person. There are a number of reasons we weren't a good football team last year. Now, dealing specifically with the contract Junior received, I mean, I think when it's all said and done, there was more expected off the field. I think there were too many times there were some inconsistencies, some things that took place where we didn't feel comfortable as a club. And I think, obviously, when you write a check like that and make a commitment like that, you have a long-term vision. Certainly we did. That same vision we had when we signed Junior as a rookie player. He's someone that as a head coach, you feel like you failed because you take a vested interest in seeing him have success and seeing him accomplish all the things you want, and yet at the same time, there's a team element that we felt was really paramount, and it was really in the best interest that we felt going forward for our team. He's going to have, I'm sure, a handful of opportunities with other clubs. We wish him well, but we felt for our team coming up into the season, it was the right thing to do.
If another coach calls you up and says, "I'm thinking about signing this guy, what should I do?" What do you tell him?
Well, I think this. You're going to get a guy that gives great effort. He is someone that works hard. He's passionate. I love that about him. He plays with passion. I think the key thing is in the area that I get frustrated with myself is just making sure that there's that communication. Like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's the expectation level. And look, guys are going to make mistakes. All of us are. And at the same time, I think it just really gotten to a point where we felt for this upcoming season it was a decision we had to make. But that all being said, we've had success with guys that have come to our roster and not had the same experience with someone else's. Anthony Hargrove, who battled a handful of demons in his career. And so I think it's about the fit, and I would be more than happy to visit with another coach or GM with regards to signing Junior. You want to see him do well. I want to see him do well and have success and realize all his dreams.
Well, Coach, excellent stuff as always. We wish you all the best this season. Safe travels to West Virginia, and hopefully we can talk soon.
Sounds good. We'll see you soon, Mike.
All right, there he is, Sean Payton, coach of the New Orleans Saints, on his way to the great state of West Virginia for training camp. It is a lot cooler and a lot less humid than New Orleans this time of year. When we return, let's heat things up with some of your questions. 855-237-5. No, I know. I texted the number to Coach Payton earlier. It's not the number. This is the number. 855-323-4622. My brain can't process two different numbers at the same time. 855-323-4622. We'll be back to wrap up hour number one. This is BFT Live on NBC Sports Radio.